So Landman Season 2 has just concluded, and despite it being a season that was turbulent and only really picked up in pace and showed its true form in the final 2 episodes, the way that the show concluded, it's left us with one burning question on all of our minds, and that's, when is Landman Season 3 going to be released? Well, I thought I'd take a look at all the news about the upcoming season and also give my theories and predictions on what I think will happen when the show returns. So let's get into it. Here is Landman Season 3 Theories Explained and everything we know. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. The release date. If there's one thing that we can praise Landman on, it's the trend that Paramount Plus like to follow when it comes to the release of their shows, and that's to not make the audience wait longer than a year. Unlike most other platforms that can have us waiting at least 2 years these days, 3.5 if you're a Stranger Things fan. Before we get into when the release date could be, the main question that we have to answer first is there even going to be a Season 3? Well, the good news is, despite the Season 2 finale feeling like it could well be a series finale because of its conclusive happy ending, the show has actually been greenlit for a 3rd season, and when looking at the numbers, it's clear to see why. The Landman Season 2 premiere actually became the most watched premiere in Paramount Plus history, with 9.2 million views in just a couple of days. This was a massive increase on the Season 1 premiere by 262%. So there was almost no way that Paramount would want to axe this show anytime soon, especially after pulling in those viewing figures. So now when looking at when a potential release date could be, well, Landman Season 1 released in November of 2024 after starting filming in February of that year. Then Landman Season 2 released 1 year later from Season 1 in November of 2025 after starting filming in April of 2025. So if the show is going to follow the trend and standard that it set itself, one would have to imagine that they're going to start filming Season 3 between February and April and aim to have the 3rd installment out by November of 2026. That's what I'm hoping for, at least anyway. The story. The story of Season 2 definitely proved to be divisive, and in my opinion, it was so much weaker than what we had in the 1st season of the show. Other than the final 2 episodes, that is. But what I'm hoping is that with the show leaning back into the tone that Season 1 had during the ending of Season 2, that means we might well end up going back to the show's roots. That being said, I do think there are many different directions that this next season could go in. First off, when looking at Tommy making a deal with Dan Morrell and opening his own company, CTT Oil Exploration and Cattle, and it meaning that he's made a deal with the devil, I think this could put 2 difficult things in his way. The first is that he's going to be going up against M-Tex, and his betrayal of Cami is something that will most likely damage that relationship for good moving forward. I feel like there could potentially be a legal battle that Cami throws Tommy's way as well, because he essentially acquired that piece of land with the wells on whilst he was working for M-Tex, which would technically make them M-Tex's property. So I think that could be one slight battle that he'll face. However, the second and largest battle that I think he'll be facing will come from the fact that he did the very thing that he didn't want to do in the first place, and that was going into business with a cartel leader. He saw just how dangerous, damaging, and painful it was being in the vicinity of the cartel in Season 1 of the show, and with him now being in business with Morrell, I feel he could either get caught up in the cartel's feuds that might end up occurring, or Tommy might get swept up with working with them, which could ultimately put him on the wrong side of the law for the first time, something that could burn all of his bridges with the members of law enforcement that he's got good relationships with. I do also wonder if Tommy's life could be put in some kind of danger. The idea of a threat on Tommy's health has been teased on many occasions, but we've not actually seen anything bad happen to him. We saw that he was taking meds in the finale, and it makes me wonder if that was a subtle hint at the fact that we could see all of the stress of the work that he's doing be the very thing that drives him into a hospital bed, just like it did Monty. It would be an interesting route to go down because it would definitely provide some emotion into the show. I also think the outcome of the Louisiana rig is going to be revealed, and this will either show us that Tommy made a good move betting against it striking gas, or if he was a fool to not back the 10% chance that it had. This could also be the make or break of Cami. With Nate uttering one of the most important pieces of dialogue in the finale, which was essentially him saying that the company was never supposed to outlive Monty, and that it was basically designed to die with him. I think we could see the very thing that Cami is doing, which is running the company with the hopes of keeping her husband's memory alive, ultimately come crashing right down to the ground. Outside of Tommy and Cami, I think Cooper will return back to how he was in Season 1. Cooper is now going to be the president of a company, something he's never been before. However, what we know about the Cooper from season 1 was that he was an ambitious kid that wanted to make something of himself. Technically, if it wasn't for him finding that little pocket of land that the world had forgotten about, then CTT wouldn't exist. So it showed that he was essentially the reason that the family had success. With him now being engaged to Ariana, I feel like the intensity of their love story might start to fade slightly as we see them just operating as a regular couple. I feel like there could actually be a wedding episode in the new season. We had a funeral in season 2 for Tommy's mother, so I don't see why we couldn't have the wedding. Another main character that I hope returns to how they were in season 1 is Rebecca. In the finale, we got the version of Rebecca that I feel all of us were pretty much hoping to see again, the one that is, to quote her, a life ruiner. When she was speaking with law enforcement and she put all of them in their place, that was the Rebecca that we had throughout the entirety of the first season. So I'm hoping we see that again in season 3. I almost don't want Charlie Newsom to come back into the show because he was the very reason as to why she lost that in season 2. She just became obsessed with trying to impress him and was pining over him to the point where the strong, independent woman basically disappeared. So with her working for Tommy's firm and against M-Tex, maybe that relationship will be no more. I suppose it's not Landman without the soap opera mother and daughter combo. Honestly, I'm hoping we see these characters a lot less in the next season. With Ainsley off at college, it's the perfect time to write her out of the show. We don't really need these side quests with her in cheerleading camp. In my opinion, that's not Landman. As well as that, I also think Ainsley being gone might allow Angela to be a little bit more serious as she's not going to have her partner in crime. So it might also mean that the old folks storyline will be gone too. There are genuinely so many different directions that the next season could go in with regards to the story. I mean, what if Dan Morrell is taken out by a rival gang? That could quite literally flip everything on its head. The possibilities are endless, so I'm excited to see what storylines the new season's going to have at its core. The cast. When it comes to the casting characters in this show, they're genuinely what makes it feel so good. With there not actually being any major deaths in this season of the show, unlike the first season, I think it's safe to say that we'll see Billy Bob Thornton returning as Tommy Norris, Sam Elliott as TL, Jacob Loughlin as Cooper, Paulina Chavez as Ariana, Kayla Wallace as Rebecca, Demi Moore as Cami, Michelle Randolph as Ainsley, Ali Larter as Angela, and most importantly, Andy Garcia as cartel boss Dan Morrell. I also wouldn't rule out having new cast members being announced and new characters that'll play an important role in the upcoming story. Unfortunately for now, that's all that's known about Landman Season 3. I'm sure more information will be released as we get ever closer to the release date, and maybe even some more casting updates once the production truly begins. Until then, all we can do is theorize. So, there you have it, Landman Season 3 Theories Explained. If you want to see Landman Season 2 being broken down, then check the playlist below, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future videos. What do you think will happen next? Share your thoughts in the comments. As always, thanks for tuning into the video, and I'll see you in the next one.